In this video, we're going to see what folders we need in order to create our first website. And we're also going to use Dreamweaver CS3 here in order to see what we need to do in order to define our site in order to get started designing it. So the first thing you need to do is create a web folder. This is called the root folder. It's the lowest level folder on the drive for your site. I recommend using your last name and then large S site. That way you know you can find this folder easily. Inside of your root folder, I'd like you to create a CSS folder. That's where we will keep all our cascading style sheets, which control the way that text is stylized on your website, presets and that sort of thing. We'll go through it. You also need an images folder and a working folder. The images folder is where you're going to keep all of the images that you're using on your site, and the working folder is for any random stuff that you think you might use, that you like, that you've created, you're just kind of in process using and maybe haven't quite gotten to the final version just yet. So that's great. So once you've got your root folder and those folders created, the next step is defining your site. And defining your site essentially is telling Dreamweaver where the site is located on your hard drive so that it'll be able to find your files and you'll be able to access them from inside of Dreamweaver. So this is a necessary step when you start a website. Sometimes on our network it requires you to do it every time you start Dreamweaver rather than just once at the beginning of your site creation. So if you're using it at home, you may only have to do this once. If you're on our network, because of the way that it works, you might have to do this every day when you log in. So from the main welcome screen, this is the same from CS3 or CS4, it does not matter which one you're using. You'll click on in the Create New Dreamweaver site. You'll give your site a name. For me, something that always works is your last name and site. Where we won't be posting this online, so you don't need a URL address. You will not be using any server technology. We're not posting it again online using any kind of ASPs or .NETs, anything like that, so just say no. And here you're going to say that you're going to keep it on your machine, so this is on the computer itself. You're not posting it to the internet, so in order to do that, you just require to click this button over here, which allows you to choose where your folder is that you created earlier on. So for me, it's on my desktop. For you, it's on the network. So I will go into here and grab my Philion site folder, and we will just hit choose. For you, it'll be select, and away we go. So we just told Dreamweaver where all our files are, and we're going to click next. The next question, how do you connect to the remote server? Always say none to this because this implies that you have some sort of technology online where your site is being stored. We're not using that in this class, so don't worry about it. Just hit none, and that just tells it don't worry about any of the remote network stuff. So clicking on next to give it a summary of the answers that you've given. Done, and you're off to the races. Now what you'll notice have happened here, if you went through the process correctly, the site folder that you created, your root folder, for me it's Philion site, for you it might be your name, is now available in the files palette here on the right hand side, and you can see what's inside of it. I have a CSS folder, an images folder, and a working folder. So I've actually defined the site. Dreamweaver now knows the location of my website. The very next step is to create your first HTML page. You'll only have to do this once every time you create a new page, but from the Create New menu you choose HTML document. An HTML document is just a basic web page, and it's essentially just your basic page here. So I click that. I've got now a blank page that I can type into, and this is in fact the first page of my website. The very first thing you'll do is go ahead and save it. So File, Save As, and the one thing about web pages is that index.html is always going to be the name of the first page you create, because this is the default for the web browsers like Internet Explorer and Firefox or Safari, whichever you're using. That is the default, so the web browser will know index.html is the file it's looking for as the first page your visitor is going to go to. So we'll go ahead and save that. So now we've got an index.html saved, nothing in it. And you'll notice on your file palette over here, where your site definition is located, index.html, the file has now appeared because this is your site root folder and that's where you're working from.